Let's make these makeup bags. They are a great boxy zippered bag that you can store all sorts of fun stuff in. The original tutorial came from the Crafty Gemini on YouTube. Pause the video and screenshot so that you can get the measurements for the bags I made. To get started, cut all your fabric and apply the interfacing to the exterior fabric. Let's make some zipper sandwiches. To start this, we're going to put the exterior fabric facing up, and then we are going to take the zipper with the zipper teeth facing towards the exterior fabric. The flat side of the zipper is going to be facing towards the interior lining fabric. And then as you do that, you're going to line up everything along the edge and either pin or clip all the way down so that you have a nice edge of exterior fabric, zipper, and lining fabric. I'm going to speed this up so that you can see how I clip all the way along. If your zipper extends past the fabric, that is totally fine. If it is sticking out on the edges, don't worry about that. Make sure you switch your machine to a zipper foot. These are a couple different types of zipper feet, so whatever kind your machine uses, and you're going to swap it out so that you will have the correct zipper foot to do this project. The zipper foot allows you to sew very close to the zipper where a normal attachment would have a difficult time going across that bump in the zipper. All right, again, if your zipper is longer here, that's totally fine. It'll just be sticking out on the other end, but you just need to sew where the fabric and the zipper are matching. And we're going to sew a nice edge along to put this sandwich together. This next part is painful for me, but is very important for the watcher. I want you to see how crooked my sewing is. I got a little wild right there, and I just want you to know I am absolutely not perfect, and I am not an expert. Next, we need to open this up and smooth back those layers of fabric so that we can attach the fabric on the other side of the zipper. So we've done one side, we've got half of our bag there, and now we need to attach the fabric to the other side. In the same way we made the last sandwich, we're going to put the exterior fabric up. We're going to put the teeth towards the exterior fabric. This is going to be right sides together. So both of your exteriors are going to be facing each other. Then we're going to lay the lining fabric on top of that. So we're going to have a sandwich here that has our exterior fabric facing towards each other with that zipper in the middle and the lining fabric on top of that. I'm using a muslin fabric for my lining, but if you're using a fabric that has a right side and a wrong side, you're going to want to make sure that the right side is facing towards the zipper and the wrong side would be facing up right now. So you want that right side towards the zipper. All right, now we've got the sandwich made again, and we're going to sew along that edge, making sure that we have that other side tucked away and smoothed out of the way so we don't end up with a whoop. Next, use an iron to smooth out the edges away from the zipper so that you have a nice flat side. What we're going to do is top stitch next to the zipper, and so we want to make sure we have it nice and flat and smooth out so that there's no puckers or wrinkling. I like to lengthen my stitch when I top stitch, so I usually change it to about a 4. And here you can see where one side I've done a top stitch and the other side I haven't. It adds a nice professional edge to it and just goes right along the edge of the fabric before it gets to the zipper. All right, before we move on to the next step, make sure your zipper pull is pulled in like mine so that it's inside the fabric. If it was outside, you're going to have a problem because we're going to add the pull tabs and we won't be able to go back from there. So here you can see I have the pull tabs. I think I used about a 4-inch for my pull tab, but I think 3 maybe is a little bit better. So you can go a little bit longer. I wouldn't go shorter. To create the pull tabs, you're going to fold them in half and then in half again so that it'll enclose the raw edges on the inside. Once you've done that, you're going to stitch along the edge, just really close to the edge. Here you can see I've done about 1/8 of an inch, and that'll make a nice pull tab for the edges of the bag. To get these nice crisp lines, I am using an iron. To line up the tabs on the bag, you're going to fold them in half and line up the raw edges. Initially, when you look at this, it does look a little bit backwards and counterintuitive, but this is something you need to trust the process with. I line them up so that they're flat like this so that you're going through less layers with the zipper and the multiple layers of fabric. You want to sew across here so that you can hold these in place, and you want to sew slowly because it is a good place for you to break a needle. If you do, that's okay, just change it out. Now's the time you can cut off any excess zipper that might be hanging out the sides of your bag. For this step, you're going to take the two exterior pieces of the bag and put them together and have the lining going the other direction. You're going to line up those corners so that we can pin or clip all the way along the edge of the bag. Once you're satisfied with lining up the exterior, we're going to end up doing the same thing to the lining. The only difference will be when we actually sew the line across. When you actually sew the line across the lining, you're going to leave about a hand-spaced hole in the middle. So you'll go from one edge to about the middle, and then you'll go from the other edge to about the middle, just leaving yourself a gap that you can fit your hand through. When we sew along these edges, we will leave that opening in the lining just for our hand, and the sides of the bag will be open, so it'll just have stitching along each of the ends as shown here, and the sides will not be sewn yet. Now it's where the magic happens. We're going to take those bottom seams that we made and we're going to match them up with the center of the zipper. So it's definitely a unique way to put together a bag if you're not familiar with this. And this is how we make that boxy bag version versus the zippered version that is just a zipper pouch I've made in previous videos. Before you get too far with this step, make sure that the zipper is open enough in the bag that you'll be able to get your hand through to flip it out. So if your zipper is mostly closed, you want to open it so that you'll be able to fit your hand through and pull the bag out. All right, this is what we're looking for. So we've got it clipped so that we can sew along these sides, and we've got everybody lined up. The zipper is in the center, and we made sure that we have an opening in the bottom of the lining so that we'll be able to flip this inside out. This is the view that we're going to have so that we know that it is correct. We've got an opening all the way through so we can see the exterior fabric because the zipper is open. And then you've got these weird little sides that is correct. This is what it should look like. Now trim off a little bit of the excess of the corners. Make sure you don't cut through your sew lines, but to make a little less bulk in the corners, I'm going to just cut a little bit of that out of there. All right, and then once you're done trimming all of those little extra pieces off, you can flip this inside out. You'll just reach your hand through the lining and go all the way to the exterior and flip the bag inside out. Once you have flipped the bags inside out, they'll look a little bit like this, like a nice flat little bag. And now we need to make them boxy. The way that we do that is to flip them inside out so that we've got the lining sticking out and we're going to have the exterior on the inside. This is just so that we can box up those corners. When you're doing this, you want to get the corners poked out so that they are very crisp because of the way that we're going to box these. It's important that they are nice and crisp and pushed out. Now we're going to kind of maneuver the corners so that they look like this so that we can make the box. I'll show you how we're going to clip them in just a second, but you're going to kind of make sure that you have them nice and flat and turn them like this so that we'll be able to pin them and make lines across to make the box. All right, see how nice and flat those corners are? Now what I'm going to do is take the ruler and I'm using the 3 line to line up with the seam that I've already made so that it'll be nice and straight. And I'm drawing a line 1.5 inches from the point of the corner. So across that line there is where I'm going to sew. That'll be my sew line. And the bigger you make this, the more boxy the bag will be. The smaller you make it, the lower and flatter it will be. Once you've drawn your lines on all 4 corners, you can sew straight across the line and then close up your lining on the bottom. Just tuck those together and sew them up, and your bag is finished. All right, now all you have to do is flip your bag inside out and you're ready to go. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Also, I would love a picture of your finished product. I would love to see if you were able to make this boxy bag. I am Black Hills Sewing. That's me and my seam ripper, and I'm so glad you were able to join me for this tutorial. You can check out my website on blackhillsewing.com, and I love your engagement. Comments, pictures, questions, all of it is amazing. I appreciate you and have a fabulous sewing day.